Hello, everyone. My name is Gitika Gorthy, and today I am very honored to be interviewing a very special space champion, Mr. Fedotovas. He is the owner of Betting Alpha Media, which is a social media branding and marketing company that has experience with creating and managing content for a combined of $1.4 billion worth of real estate companies. He also has his own YouTube podcast series where he interviews some amazing space professionals themed with cool space topics, and you should definitely check it out. The link will be in the description below. Mr. Fedotovas' work, passion, drive is so inspiring, and I can't wait to learn more about his journey into space, especially from a unique angle. So, welcome, Mr. Fedotovas. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to conduct this interview.
Thank you very much, Gitika. As always, really professional. I love your vibe. I love everything you do. I love your show. I love the guests, and I love everything you do when it comes to the projects as well. So I'm honored to be here.
Thank you so much for your kind words. I'm really, when I learned about your journey and how you're really involved in the space industry, it got me, thinking, how did you really get in? But before we jump into that, first, I'd like to know more about your typical day. What do you currently do and how does it run?
Currently, as I mentioned before, Beating Alpha Media is the company that I've been running, myself for almost 5 years. Created this social media company. There's a completely different story behind that, but kind of from home where, it was just me handling all the clients. And then we moved into an office, started hiring people. So it was quite a journey for all those years. So now, again, part of the space and everything that's happening in this industry now the main focus is starting a brand new project. It's going to be called Altair, which is going to be same approach, well, a little bit different, but it's going to be a full service marketing agency, but just for the space industry. So it's mainly focusing on that, building that side of the company. So basically a brand new project. So now going through basically just 10,000 feet overview of what is it going to take for us to make it happen, how we can do that successfully for other companies, how we can help them to raise capital for the projects, position as leaders in the marketplace, and what type of people are we going to need to execute that on a daily basis. So now it's constantly basically the main thing right now is just looking for people, the next hires, future hires, who is it going to be, and where we can place them or where we can find them in the first place.
Yeah, definitely. What's really interesting is I was talking with another individual who's into marketing, and she mentions how, it's such a you would be surprised, in this such big space industry, there's actually very few marketing companies that are, work with top companies like Lockheed Martin. There's only like a few, one or two really big ones, and the rest they're not there. And so being able to first make space more inclusive and like reach out to a larger audience for space careers, space job opportunities, and trying to reach out to those diverse audiences without, just sticking in one normal path is really important. And I think marketing is a great way to create that inclusive environment. So I'm really glad that you were able to find your passion in that. So throughout your journey, I'm sure you've been a part of very cool projects and maybe even research during your college years. So what is the most exciting project or research that you've worked on?
Yeah, I saw that a question that you sent me over prior before us having this conversation. It was really tough for me to think about that because one of the biggest problems, and again, I know you have a question asking about the mentors and coaches or just people that you pay attention and you learn from. But all these people that have been mentored by, they will tell you exactly the same what I'm going to tell you now. That I don't give myself enough credit to everything that I do, and I think that's probably the best and the worst thing at the same time. Because sometimes you can get discouraged along the lines because you don't think you do enough. But when it comes to those projects and research, there's not probably one piece that stood out the most because I think all of that is really important. Like for us to go from zero to 1.4 billion dollars worth clients and where we manage social media accounts and everything for Beating Alpha Media, it took more than a few pieces to do a research on or just to shape us as a company to where we are now. So but a lot of it I just overlook probably, and I don't pay attention because I'm more of a probably dreamer and thinker, and just always 10,000 feet view and what we can do more, because I don't think that I can brag in any of that, because at the same time we have people just like Elon Musk who's trying to go to Mars. So I don't think I have the bragging rights to talk about, oh, I did this and this is incredible.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Everyone has their own cool experiences, but I definitely understand trying to take the whole journey together and not just highlighting or picking out one part is really important.
Yep.
Yeah, and you were mentioning how, you grew a company and it took a long process to get the clientele and build up of what you did. And though this is not very space related, I'm really curious, how were you able to network, reach out, market? I'm sure like a lot of startup businesses, whether it be for space industries or just other companies as well, having a hard time trying to reach out and build that community. So how were you able to do that?
Mm. So I wouldn't call it the community. I mean, are we talking about the clients that you're going to be
Mhm.
looking
Yeah.
for? So if it's that, the first client started as basically part of the mentorship program that I was into, and I probably wouldn't even call it a program because it was more of a kind of barter exchange. We use this barter system where this guy, he's really successful real estate investor, bought and sold 300 million worth, real estate deals. And at the time, I was doing something else. I was doing a consulting part of financial industry. And this man said, "Look, you're really great. You have the passion, and I see what you can produce as when it comes to the content itself." So he said, "I thought you should do this." He pointed out me to a couple of places in real estate industry. He said, "Look, these people are lacking that." Basically, social media approach, this thought leadership that a lot of companies want to achieve. They want to dominate their industries. And he said, "Look, you should do this instead of what you're doing now." So I basically scrapped everything, started from scratch, from zero. It took me probably a couple hours to do that. And, I just went from there. So this guy basically said, "Hey, listen, I know, a few people." So he basically recommended me a few people, but there's a completely different story. How did I met that person? So that was through some forums and basically. So I think the quickest way, because I don't want to talk too long, but the quickest way, if you have a passion for something, so let's say that's I'm sure you're passionate about space, just being in the forums, and of course you have to be super clear what your message is, and you always have to look from the point of I'm not sure if a lot of people talk about in a space industry, but in the real estate industry it's getting thrown out all the time. It's called add value. They always, that's what they say, add value, be in service. That's what my mentor used to say, because he said, "Look, when regardless if you're religious or not," he said, "when the God came to this planet, he said he just came here for one reason, to be in service." So he said that's supposed to be your personal approach too. You just always have to look at the people and how you can add value or be in service for those people. And again, you just have to be super clear what your personal message is and why do you want to talk with these people, because everything has to be super intentional, because there's a lot of people, and I'm sure including yourself, you get bombarded with messages on LinkedIn where people reach out to you, "Hey, I'm just looking to connect," and you connect with those people and nothing happens, or they're trying to sell you something from on a second message. And that's not the right way to connect with people. The right way is definitely like just like what you did. That's a great example. You reached out to me and you was like, "Look, I have a passion about that, like I love what you do, and maybe we can add value to each other." I think that's what you said. We connected from there. You've been on my show. I really enjoyed picking your brain and the way you look at things. So that was really cool. And now I'm in a hot seat. So it's really cool. So that's the way to go about things. And I think you know really well how to add value, to the people, to the communities, how to build the community, and you're a great example of doing so. So I think if people would take example from you, or just from the people that I'm sure anybody have a example of somebody that's really great, and you cannot become great without being great person at networking. That means building those connections. And how do you do that? I mean, there's a ton of books, and it's really because people look for these quick answers. It's just like, don't give me the long sentence, just give me one short. And look, business, life, sometimes it's pretty boring and tough. A lot of the stuff that we do, it's really boring, but it doesn't mean that we cannot do it. I mean, we have to do it. And some of the pieces are really boring, but you cannot be successful without those pieces. So for somebody who's looking like how do you become great in networking, you just become passionate first of all about what you do. If you feel like you don't have the passion, you're not gonna last. And if you're trying to fake it, people will notice that really fast. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with what you're saying about the networking piece and trying to add value to the relationships because everyone is trying to grow in their own rights, in their own industry, in their own way with whatever they're doing right now, whatever project or work, and being able to support each other and try to grow together as a, together and through some sort of collaboration is definitely something that is important in connecting with others and creating that network and using social media platforms like forums or trying to build like Twitter media and like it's using different social media accounts to actually build that community is very very important and I think encouraging and proper use of social media is really important these days, especially when we're in an age where social media has a huge negative effect and a very
Totally.
positive effect. I think trying to understand the positive way of using social media to help make connections internationally is very important.
Look, the quick answer they can give to the people, it's the podcast. That's exactly what I'm doing, because that's the quickest way that you can build your network. Because look, first of all, everybody loves to talk about themselves. It doesn't mean that I like to. I'm really sometimes I'm comfortable to talk about myself, and when people even ask me, oh, how do you achieve this, and I'm like, oh my God, it's nothing to compare to what other people are doing, and we want to get there. But it's really the quickest way to have the podcast and to connect with those people. But always follow up and look for ways to be in service to those people. Email them because you have their email and ask, hey, listen, what you've been up to. It doesn't have to be every single day. Ask them what you've been up to. Maybe I can be in service for you. Like, what do you need? Just keep talking with people, because people, if they're onto something, if they're building something, they have, a lot of problems happening in their life. Well, not personal problems in business, and maybe you can help them to handle these headaches.
Yeah, yeah, definitely very good point. And so I can obviously see the huge passion you have for space through the different works you've done. And I'm curious, you're in this marketing background and business realm. How did you get into space and start this podcast series of yours?
Yeah, so great question, by the way. So the last time that we spoke, I kind of told you the story. So basically, and I think a lot of people can relate to that, because I think everybody loves space, as the industry itself, especially when we're kids. If you're a
Mhm.
boy and a girl, it don't matter. Like, maybe more for boys, like if you ask, what do you want to be, an astronaut? And I'm sure a lot of girls these days, they surely want to be astronauts as well. But that's what the kids talk about. Like, I want to be a fireman, I want to be a doctor, or anything like that, and an astronaut for sure. So, and I think a lot of people lose it, as I told you before, because they grew up, they start to get all these responsibilities, job and paying bills and things like that. So they forget about it, and it kind of becomes a secondary and not even important thing anymore, which is really a shame, because we do live on this planet, and it is a planet that will live on. And besides that, like, there's vast of the universe, and it expands faster than the speed of light, as we're talking right now. So I mean, there's a lot of things happening, and we don't even notice that. And we think, while we're talking on the podcast, we think we're it. This is what the life is all about, right?
Yeah.
But it's so much more, and I think it's really important for people to understand, because you just have to come back to it, same as I did, coming back to your question, because it's really important. Like, we need to go and explore and see what we can do, again, as you did, as you're talking about that. And part of your projects is, how do you get more people involved in the space industry, young people, because it is the future. One of the biggest probably industries is going to be space. I mean, going further in the future, because if we now talking about colonizing different planets, or creating sustainable living in different planets, we're gonna need a lot of people, more people than we have right now in the space industry, to achieve that. So anybody that we can think of, as medicine, law, engineering, astrobiology, engineer, like, we need those people. So it doesn't matter, like, if I'm a social media guy, and our company can provide value from that place, and or maybe we'll, personally, me, and maybe I'm gonna come up with different projects going along the lines, because I think there's a lot of really cool projects. But I think everybody should look into it, because it's really important. I do understand paying bills, having a nice car and house, and traveling the world, and all those things are truly important. We should enjoy our lives. But once you do that a little bit, what else is there? You know?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think part of Ignited Thinkers, like the mission, was part of it really is to show young generations the vast career opportunities there are and the growth. When you're young in elementary school, when teachers talk about space, if they do at all, really it's all around, how complicated it is, but how amazing it is. But it didn't put it on this like level, like an unreachable level for kids where it's like such high expectations, which surely the science behind it is crazy and it's really, a lot of smart people, have really built that foundation for us. However, it's not as unattainable as many view. I mean, I once viewed working in the space industry as unattainable because of the complexity of the industry, but really trying to show those children that you can grow in the industry. I mean, if your concern is not being able to go to space because the lack of stability, there are so many amazing stable workers at like NASA, Lockheed Martin, different international companies as well. And there's so many job opportunities. Commercialization is happening now, so we don't have to worry about just working in a government space agency. There's a lot of
Mhm.
private industries that are hiring like non-citizens as well for certain projects. So being able to you know, understand that we're growing and provide those opportunities and that knowledge and awareness to the kids that are growing now, because we're in a generation where space is rapidly growing. Like I can't wait to see what happens in 10 years from now, like how much we discover and how much we do. So being able to keep up and have that large working force is really important.
Exactly, indeed. So you're spot on. I mean, you're ahead of a lot of people because a lot of people will notice, and I know part of that. So I'm really grateful. Like, I talked with people from NASA, same as you did, and
Mhm.
with some of the people I asked, like, what is happening right now? Why when you go to the shops, like, I'm not wearing the NASA shirt right now, but I have a few, and that means like you when you're gonna go to the clothing store, you're gonna see a lot of the merchandise, like space based, and that's happening for the reason because all the space agencies, particularly NASA, they do a great job at marketing, those people in there, but maybe we can, help them a little bit more. But it's all about bringing more awareness or attention of the people. You know what happened with the space shuttle program? It got defunded because people, didn't pay, enough attention anymore. Because, besides a few accidents that happen, like people, okay, next successful launch, successful, like, and people don't get excited. So if people don't get excited, because we need more people to get involved with it. So I think, uh, you know, just NASA, I love again what they're working on, and I think more people can provide more value again to the space industry overall. And what you said, is just like younger, older generation. I had people just like Ana Castro. She's from Brazil now. She's working with the startup company in UK. It's been a journey for her, so she's really great. And a lot of people have stories like that, which again, a lot of people through that marketing will start to notice like there's something happening. So the fact that you're seeing that ahead and you don't have a NASA t-shirt as far as I see,
Yeah.
that's really great.
Yeah, thank you. And you were saying how you always had a passion for space when you were a younger kid, but you kind of diverted, but then you came back to it. So I'm curious,
Hmm.
what is that exact moment of reignition where you were like, or like a certain program you're involved in, a book or a movie that really was like you hit, you're like, oh yeah, I used to love doing this. I used to love space. Like, what happened? Where did that realization really happen?
Mm. That's a really good question. Probably I've seen something on a social media, probably because that's these days we consume information mainly that way. And again, me being a social media marketing guy, probably I came through there through some posts. Again, thank you, probably Instagram algorithm for showing me some space related stuff.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
that's probably how it happened, because we consume information that way, as I said. But it probably was it because I don't have anything that stood out, but I can remember so many different pieces when I was younger. And I used to have this like paper book where I used to take notes of, I remember like Leonid shower, like meteor shower used to come up. And, I just used to look. And I used to live in a city where it's like Bortom 9. And I'm like little kid, I'm looking at the sky like expecting to see something.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I used to be really obsessed about the space. Hopefully none of my
Mhm.
teachers are watching, which I'm sure they're not. But I used to like get the books from school, like cut the pictures out, put it in a notebook and stuff like that. So I used to be bad about it, but it's really the passion goes really deep because I think, and for everybody, if we just
Yeah.
uncover, the reason why we should love the space, because as you said, there's multiple angles to the industry. It's not only one. It's not only, okay, you have to be a scientist and behind the computer or just do the research. There could be so much more. And I think exposing opportunities to these people or creating some of the opportunities, just like myself with a social media company, hiring people and letting them know, look, like this is, we're going to be creating content and, all these, ad campaigns and everything for for the space industry. And those people will be like, wow, I didn't know like people do that. Again, in your case, what you're doing, just showing people overall, like, look, these opportunities are available. You can be part of them, or you can create something, as I said, because there's a lot of startup companies right now are, getting their ideas up because the money is always there. People
Yeah.
talk about, oh, the funding, and of course, this is the government, private agencies, government agencies is different. But look, like I'm sure Elon Musk, right now at this point, he doesn't,
Yeah.
he's not complaining about the money that he's getting because he gets so much attention. And I'm sure there's more and more companies just like that will come up, same as a SpaceX or go beyond that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And because you're in the marketing background, I'm sure people are curious, what do you think are the job opportunities in that for space and marketing? Like, do you believe there are a lot of careers already in there or there needs to be more? And what is your thoughts on the diverse space careers? Like, there are opportunities that are happening right now at this moment. Do you think that there are a lot of diverse career opportunities, especially in marketing?
Well, definitely. There is probably a few opportunities, and I'm sure there's, a lot of bigger companies, as I said, or space agencies are hiring people right now. But there's supposed to be more, I think. But
Yeah.
I know that you have a question about some cons, that pros and cons or something like that. So I think the con is just having too much because especially during the because again when you spend enough time in a social media as a industry in itself, you start to see that there's a lot of fakeness happening, which again it's a completely different topic, but so it could be way too much, but I think now it's not enough. But what is enough? I mean, as you said, there is a few big companies who can handle a lot because they have a lot of people. So look, we don't need a ton of people in the marketing industry. We definitely need more engineers, developers, computer
Yeah.
scientists, research, those people. Because look, like social media, it is important. But if everybody is going to be in the same industry, like, we need the innovation. That's a secondary thing. The social media, it is important, especially these days. And, the COVID showed us where we work from home, how important it is, where
Yeah.
like the main companies that thrive and succeed during these times are online based companies. I'm
Mhm.
sure there's more companies who develop products or services, but I'm sure they had a few delays, which again for anybody that's online, they don't suffer that much. But it's that's not how the planet is going to survive, or that's not how we're going to colonize different planets. Like
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
need more people in different industries, different parts.
Yeah, 100% agree on that topic. And so throughout your journey, did you have any obstacle, like twists and turns that really kind of put you in a different direction or made you kind of step back and reconsider your steps?
Oh no, it was a smooth ride. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
Of
no one's is
course,
a smooth ride, but yeah.
yeah, no, it's been a lot. I mean, and it's still probably not probably it happens every single day. Like you just you just don't know what you don't know sometimes, and you think but look, as I said, it's just like there's a lot of innovation at the same time happening, and you have to stay ahead of that. Sometimes you have to even look behind the corner and see where the audience is going to be, what's going to be the next thing, or where you should direct your allocate your capital and attention to. So, but besides that, it's just like it's always up and down and up and down. But once you continue to move, if it's up and down, but you just continue to move the needle up, that's perfectly fine. And I think that's how you're gonna grow as a person. So if you don't feel like you're having, because look, I'll tell you just one thing.
Yeah.
I'm 31, so when I was probably 25, I made a decision, and that decision was very simple. I said I will fail as much as I can. Because that means what? I'm not saying intentionally do stupid stuff just to make sure that I fail, but I make sure that I do something, that I fail forward, that I move somewhere. Because a lot of people are really scared about that, and I'm sure like Elon Musk, like the people look at him, I'm sure there's a lot of people, but a lot of people are familiar with this man. So I'm sure he's really fearless when it comes to making decisions, and he has, four companies to prove it so. So that's how you're gonna get to that level. If you're just gonna, of course, make the calculated risk, but how are you gonna get the experience if you don't have any? You need to. You're gonna fail, and you need to fail, and as quick as you possibly can. You need to fail, get up, brush it up, and just continue to move.
Yeah, I think earlier failure is a great way to learn instead of having the later failure. I think that's something that my parents have also told me a lot of times, especially when I've had like obstacles in my path or I feel like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm kind of stuck. They always say like earlier failure for anything is better. So you have to learn to take that risk and that jump. And especially for younger kids these days, I feel, just in any day and age, I feel like people are always scared to make mistakes, and if they do make a mistake, how it's going to impact their whole life. Like something as simple as a test. In my school, people are like, oh, if I fail this midterm, then that drops my grade, which drops my GPA, which means I won't get into college, which means I won't have a job. And like it's like a really bad way of thinking of things. And I
It,
think
it, it
uh,
it's just overthinking. You're
it's
thinking
yeah,
too
it's
much.
just
Yeah.
yeah, and I think being able to take that calculated risk, but also putting that 100% effort, it's like you're not lacking in effort, but also you're not afraid to fail and, get back up is really important. I'm glad you shared that. And earlier you were mentioning how some of the things that made you nervous about the space industry. So now I'm curious, what makes you excited about the future of the space industry, especially because you've been talking with amazing professionals on your podcast. I'm sure you've had a, nice time to like learn about different deep insights. So what excites you about the future of the space industry?
Probably the one thing that I can't remember exactly the number of the podcast episode, but it was Kate Adamala, and
Mhm.
I think she's has a Polish background. I can't remember exactly the name. I think she runs Adamala Lab, and basically they're trying to create the synthetic cells, which
Wow.
is really fascinating. I was like, wow, okay. So basically, you're trying to play, as we could call it, the God's work. Try to create,
Yeah.
and we talked about that, basically probing different planets. Let's say exoplanets. When, of course, they will achieve, because she said, there is about 100 different, projects and companies who work towards creating those synthetic cells.
Mhm.
And she said once that's going to be achieved, of course, they will be sending probes, hopefully, to potential exoplanets, which again there's thousands of them in our galaxy, and let's say seeding those planets with those cells and creating hybrid humans like or human likes and there. So that was a crazy idea to me. I was like, wow, that's really fascinating. So something like that kind of you sometimes if you're going to see that in a movie you would think that's like, wow, that's a great movie, but this is
Yeah.
really, this is happening. So for me
Yeah.
something like that blows my mind, and it was like I was just shocked for entire times. She would just just like putting all this information to me, and she's a like scientist, and I was just like, like what, like what were we talking about here? Can you repeat that again, because she was like
Yeah.
super smart. So something like that always makes me excited. Again, anybody, like all the people that I'm talking with, and it doesn't matter what they do, if they're just getting started with, they want to be, astronauts, they're going through analog missions, research, development, engineering, they're working on us, whatever they do, like all these people are super important, like for me, from my personal view, because it's not going to be one person who's going to achieve this. It's not going to be Elon Musk. It's going to be
Yeah.
hundred thousands, millions of people collaboratively all together achieving this huge vision or goal that we have. So I think all those people are going to play the key roles in all this puzzle, and all those people are really important.
Yeah, that was remarkably said. I think, I there's so many exciting things. First off, I have to go check out that podcast like right after this because I think space biology or like the concept of how different biology things could be involved in space and the future of space excites me. As I mentioned in my interview with you, space biology is really cool and the concept of synthetic cells and seeing how that can further advance a lot of the medical things we have right now is just amazing. So I'm really, have to check that out. Thank you for sharing that. There's so many things about the space industry that excite everyone, but the future is always open, and that's what's amazing about space. And so now that we were able to learn more about your journey, how you kind of transitioned from a marketing to a more of a space marketing thing with your company, and you're starting your own new endeavors through your podcast, as well as your excitement to the space industry, I want to wrap up our interview with one last question, which is, what advice do you have for young people regarding their pursuit of a passion in the space field, or really any industry in general? Something that you wish you knew when you were like maybe 20 years old or in college.
Yeah. So basically, exactly what you said before. It's like as we talked before. It's not to be afraid to fail. Because again, if we're going to be talking about young people, I'm sure they will have a lot of overthinking, as you said about school. Thinking about the grades, what I'm going to do in the future, and they're
Yeah.
like like 18, and you're thinking you're going to mess up your future because of some grade. Which look, personally, like I can tell you from my own experience, if you want to achieve something, and if that's going to be big. Uh, like the grades, or unless you're planning to work for a company, or if you're planning to create a company, no grades is going to help you. That actually, that can even that could be the opposite. It can ruin your thinking and the way you look at things. So you have to be really free, open-minded person, because a lot of the stuff that's going to be created, it's not created yet. So you
Yeah.
really need to be thinking like like have this fresh perspective view, which again,
Creative.
school is
Yeah.
just like kind of copy paste cookie cutter approach. So
Hmm.
look, you just don't have to worry about that. Any grades, just don't afraid to fail. Just be open minded, and whatever that means, go meditate, run. That's always go to do some exercise, kind of just pump your blood a little bit more, and gives you some time to think. And just don't afraid to think. Of course, social media is great, but it's again, it's a con as well for a lot of people, especially for the young people, where they get stuck and fixated, and oh my god, there's a certain standard that are supposed to be up there because of the social media told me so. So that's another piece. You have to sometimes step back and kind of think, because people forget how to do that, anymore. They don't do that anymore. Just sit back and think, look in the ceiling and think about, okay, what do I want to do in the future related to the space industry? What I want to become, where my passions are coming from. And again, don't be afraid to fail, because maybe you're going to start at engineering, and then you're going to uncover, oh, look, this is not what I want to do. Again, one of the guests that I had, Reggie, he's now working at NASA and building those. He's one of the members of the team that build the clean rooms for NASA. So
Wow.
really great guy, and he said, look, when I started my position in NASA, he started as a contractor, actually working with NASA. Then he got
Mhm.
hired by NASA. He worked as part of the engineer, I think, and then he moved on to different position, different position. He changed multiple positions, and now he's working as this guy who does the clean rooms. So he said, look, you can come in this industry from different perspective. You can be a contractor working for ESA or NASA or JAXA ISRO. It doesn't have to be, oh my God, I have to create a company or something. But you have to start somewhere. And for my biggest, like as I told you before, networking, putting yourself out there, connecting with people, picking their brain, podcast, or something like that on a social media.
Yeah, those are amazing pieces of advice, especially the one about never being afraid to fail, and always embracing that opportunity to grow as a person, individual in your own success story. I think is really important. So thank you so much, for giving this amazing insight. Really, I've really appreciated you taking your time to do this and being able to talk about your unique journey, which provides a lot of us confidence that we can always get into the space industry. Even after college, when we kind of get into it in a side basis and always combine two of our passions together, like marketing and space. So thank you so much, Mr. Fedotovas, for like doing this interview and taking your time to do this.
Thank you. It's much appreciated. Always happy to connect with you and talk with you. Thanks, Gitika.
Thank you.